I need that time. And you're going to tell me in that first 15 minutes why you've come to see me today. You will have filled out my intake form. It means that I need to see you again sooner than I would have otherwise. So if you've come to me with major complication or everything going on, you've got multiple problems, then it's going to be a half an hour appointment. And I'm going to say, I'm going to see you in a week, rather than the second appointment being a fortnight later. Mentoring with Geraldine is a bite-sized practitioner podcast for naturopaths, nutritionists, herbalists, coaches, and practitioners. This podcast responds directly to the needs of you, the practicing natural therapist. We have interviews during the holiday season and business and mindset support each week, so you'll get the variety you need to enjoy and stay motivated in your practice. Don't forget to subscribe to receive the weekly episodes. And if you want to connect with me, always check the show notes, because that's where you'll find the links to book appointments and, of course, to join the Academy, the membership group where there's constant connection and community with like-minded practitioners. Now, let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Mentoring with Geraldine and the Bite Size Podcast. How the devil are you? So if you're watching on YouTube, then you'll see that all the shelves behind me are empty because we are in the process of moving. It's huge. It takes up so much brain space and physical energy and all of the things, so many forms to be filled out and everything to be completed. And it's got me thinking about my interactions with all of these people and how our interactions are so important in our business. So I thought that we should talk about active listening, because that's really important in who we are and what we do. And one of the things that gets me is people who say, "Oh, I know." Don't say, "Oh, I know." Take that out of your vocabulary right now. When we say, "Oh, I know," and someone's just turned around and said they've broken their leg and they're in pain, well, I'm broken my foot, but I've never broken my leg, so I can't know. All right? We can't know what's going on inside somebody else's head. And there is so much in what we do that puts people off us as individuals. I mean, I'm a straight talker. I'm straight to the point. I'm very much a cup half full, if not always permanently close to the top and bubbling over. So when clients come to see me, I work hard to get a smile out of them. I work hard to get a laugh out of them if I can. Anxiety clients love it because they don't feel anxious at the end of the appointment with me. But that's just me. And those are my insecurities coming out, aren't they? And that those are the things that I want to see off people. I'll walk down the street and I'll smile at people. I'll say hello on the street as I'm walking. They're part of me. I'm that middle child trying to get recognition and be seen. So we have to acknowledge who we are and our behaviors so that we can then go on and talk to our clients in a way that's going to support them and their recovery. A huge part of what we do is actually coaching. Okay. Now, there was 10, 12 years ago when coaches became more prevalent, became a bigger thing. Lots of naturopaths and nutritionists like, they don't know anything, they haven't got any training, and they shouldn't be out there. But the point is, what they're doing is they're coaching someone to recovery, and that's what we need to be doing as well. And it's what we're not trained to do. So I think I've got a course somewhere, and I'll make sure it's in the show notes because I think I actually have a course on this. But I thought, let's go over this right now because it's in the forefront of my mind, speaking to people and being on the phone with people and their responses and how they speak to me and how I speak to them, because I'm the one who's anxious because I'm moving. I'm not. I'm really excited. But we have to remember that anxiety and excitement both have the same physical responses. We both have the increased heart rate, increased breath, all of the things, the buzzing mind, all of those things are actually the same. So when a client says they're anxious, we need to remind them and say, well, those are the same as anxious is the same as excited, really, physically. So, it's like my mother used to say, turn that frown upside down and let's use that response. And maybe that's what I do naturally, who knows? But I can see that the people I'm speaking to, especially the real estate agents and things like that, they're bubbly people as well. They know that at any point, possibly I could lose it because I'm meant to be all anxious about my move. I am anxious about my move. I've got so much stuff to move, but I'm not actually anxious about my move. I'm excited to move. There is so much stuff to move after living in a big house for 21 years. It's outrageous. So anyway, moving on from house moving, let's talk about active listening, because we need to focus on the speaker, just like the real estate agents and the conveyancer and all of these people are doing with me. They're concentrating on what I'm saying, or they mostly are. The people that we're buying off clearly are not thinking about me, but that's kind of not their job to think. If they've sold it, they've sold the house to me, I've accepted. Whereas the guy who's sold my house, he's still very much involved in the whole process of my moving, because he wants the best result for the people moving in, because that reflects both sides on him. It's the same person, buying and selling. Whereas the same, because the guy, obviously, he sold it to someone and I'm the seller. So there's a process there for him. Whereas where I'm buying, they're not, the estate agent isn't the process. They have a big team. And so the team take on all that process. So it's interesting looking at other processes and how they relate to us and our business, because we see those clients come to us, we see them, and then they have a process through our business. And we have to concentrate on that speaker. We have to concentrate on what they're saying. At the same time, we can't let them talk too much, because then there's too much to take in. So we have to figure out those boundaries within the appointment. I do have a webinar on that somewhere on my site as well. So, and you may have heard it or seen it, the Finding Your Flow, which is how to get everything into that 1 hour in clinic. Because it's really important, as we listen, we respond correctly. We let them have the time to speak and say what they need to say. So when they've come into that appointment with us and they say, "Why have you come to see me today?" That is your first question. Why have you come to see me today? And you stop and you let them tell you. Now, if they're a lawyer or an accountant or someone who charges by the minute, then they will just say, "My leg hurts." And that's it. They're done. And then you say, "Well, I just wanted you to tell me, I filled in your intake form." Yep. Great. Obviously a lawyer. But we need to tease this information out of them, because we need to know what it is. My leg hurts. Obviously, we don't have people coming to us with broken legs, but they might come to us with a residual pain after the fact, mightn't they? And so, they're going to see an orthopedic surgeon. They're going to go to the hospital if they break their leg. So we'd be a long way down the chain. I don't know why I've chosen a leg break for today, but I clearly have. That's going to be in, how did they break it? Why did they break it? Should it even have broken when they were doing what they did? Who knows what you're going to ask, but obviously it's not what we normally get in clinic. But we fully focus on what they're saying. And then we say, "Yes, and thank you very much for filling out the intake form. But I actually need to hear some of this in your own words, because my intake form includes information that would just take us time to go through, your family history and things like that we don't need to talk about, because I want to hear about you and what's going on with you." And then we tease out that information, and we have to respond with empathy and thoughtfulness. And of course, we use those nonverbal techniques, don't we? We think about how we sit. So when I have men in, they often called manspreading. That's it. And they like to, really stretch out, "Hey, I'm so cool. I'm so amazing." So I do the same thing. I sit in the same way. I respond. If they've got their hands behind their heads, I don't actually do that, because I'll be writing things down or typing on my laptop. But I respond in the same physical way. If they're all laid out, relaxed, I don't lean forward attentively. I sit back as well and wait for them to give me that information. If we copy them in their behaviors, then it pulls them out of those behaviors. Because I have a sofa in my room. So if they've got their arms over the back of the sofa and they're relaxed back and they've got their legs, all these dominant sitting positions, then I will lean back as well. And I will leave those gaps in conversation. I will leave that space so that they fill it. They've got those nonverbal cues from me that I'm not the one who's speaking now. It's up to them. I need to hear those things. Okay, I need to hear from you. Even though I'm a responder and I will talk and I will try to fill a space generally, I've learned over the years to sometimes let those spaces just be spaces so that the person in their own time can fill them with their information about them. Because we give them that first part of the appointment to tell us about them. We give them that first 15 minutes. When I say 15, it's not truly 15, is it? Because they'll come in like on the hour, then they sit down. And so it's really the first, it's till 15:15. So from the hour till 15:15. And if they've mucked about or they're late, then they haven't, I never make other people late because someone's arrived to me late. They lose that time. They've paid for that time. So if they were meant to be there on the hour and they get there at 15:15 the hour, then they will still be out on the hour. They only get 45 minutes because they paid for an hour. You can be here for as long as you like within that hour. If you're only here for 10 minutes of it, then you have a 10-minute appointment. That's your choice. But we need to pay attention and we need to be present in the moment for those people. We need to tease out that information from them so that when we respond with the lifestyle changes or whatever changes that need, they might need to take a supplement, you might need to introduce more protein into their diet or more fluid or something, they're going to be receptive to those changes because we've heard from them, we've listened to them, and now they're willing to listen to us in return. And we're able to negotiate because we've developed that association. The two of us have built that rapport at the beginning of that appointment because they've shared with us. Now, some things always come out at the end of an appointment that don't come out at the beginning. Men generally will go through all of their symptoms. And then the last 5 minutes, when you say, okay, is there anything else, anything I've missed or anything I've forgotten? They'll turn around and they'll go, oh yeah, I've got ED. So I won't say what that is because you might be listening to this in the car. So, and then you'd have to explain to the children in the back of the car what ED is. So if you need to know, you can email me, but otherwise it's a gentleman's problem. They might find that perhaps embarrassing to talk to you about, or they're uncomfortable talking about it because of the age in which they are. So that might not be culturally that age group. They want to talk about it or whatever. Then those sorts of things can come out right at the end of the conversation when it's like, okay, let me just totally start from the beginning with the planning in my brain of what I'm going to do with you. But also, generally, when they drop these clangers right at the end, in some ways, you've actually started to deal with that with the things you're doing because the other symptoms are right there. They've got the high cholesterol, they've got all the things that go with it. So we've got to give them that full attention and we've got to avoid the distractions and we can't multitask. So it's a really good idea when we're in that appointment with the client. It's a total of 1 hour. So say their appointment's at 1:00, they enter the room at 1:00. And then those first few minutes are them sitting down, putting their bag down, getting comfortable, whatever it is. And then you start. They need to be out by 5:02. If they came in at 1:00, they have to be out at 5:02. That gives you 5 minutes to spray the room with a room spray to take a breath before your next one. It's actually better if you've got them out. So the first appointment is that hour. So really it's 50 minutes. The subsequent appointments, the appointment time is half an hour. And then you got 15 minutes of, taking their money, rebooking, doing all those things. Whereas when in the first appointment, you got the 45 minutes and then that last 10 minutes is the rebooking, taking payment if you have to, and doing those sorts of things. So that time, that first half an hour of that first appointment is really their time. It's really them sharing with you. And I have a couple of rules. One of my rules is if you're on more than 5 medications or you drop a medication on me out of the blue, those are generally medications that someone's been taking forever. Some people say that with women, it's the pill. They don't say they're on the pill. I don't generally have that problem. Mostly people say they're on the pill. I don't. But the other one that some anti-epileptics, they've come up a few times where people have forgotten to say that they're on them because they've been on them since they were a teenager or a small child. And so they're just taking, or thyroxine, they've been on thyroxine since they were a child. Perhaps something they've been on since they were a child, those are the ones they forget. And those are the ones with contraindications. So my rule is if you drop a bomb on me, then I won't be giving you any supplements in that first appointment. If you have more than 5 medications, I won't be giving you any supplements, even if I've looked those medications up prior to seeing you. I will not be creating anything other than food prescriptions. So for both of those, first appointments will get food prescriptions. So if you've dropped the bomb or you've got more than 5 medications, so those are absolute rules for me. I won't be doing anything other than food prescription. So I'm already ready when I'm talking to them. I've seen they've got all these medications on their intake form. So I'm ready to do a food prescription at the end of that or during that appointment. I'm not going to be saying, well, you're going to need magnesium. I'm going to think about that. And my third rule is the sicker a person is, the shorter the appointment. Now, I know that's kind of counterintuitive. So that first appointment, you got the 1 hour, the person comes in, they're taking 1 million supplements, they're taking, hundreds of medications, they've got all of these problems going on. They haven't got the energy to sit with you for an hour. They haven't got the mental or physical capacity to sit in your rooms for an hour or be online with you for an hour. And you've got so much research to do because they've got all of these things. They've got a cupboard full of supplements that they've been buying online, and on these websites. They go for one supplement and there's people who bought that one also bought this one and all this sort of thing. And you're like, so many of these things, you've doubled up so many times on all of the ingredients. And now I have to work out how for you to take these things without throwing them all away because you spent hundreds of dollars and what's not contraindicated with your medications and so on and so forth. So I need that time. And you're going to tell me in that first 15 minutes why you've come to see me today. You will have filled out my intake form. It means that I need to see you again sooner than I would have otherwise. So if you've come to me with major complication or everything going on, you've got multiple problems, then it's going to be a half an hour appointment. And I'm going to say, I'm going to see you in a week rather than the second appointment being a fortnight later. I'll see you in a week. We're going to do shorter appointments. They're still going to be at the same cost because I'm still doing all the same research outside of the appointment. And I'd be saying, if I've got any questions for you, I'll email you in between seeing you now and next time. So those are kind of my 3 rules with all of my clients that I have found works for me over the years, and that I've already seen it. I can see where things might go pear-shaped in the relationship. And so I've already buttoned it down because I've got my rules. So there are another few sort of minor rules. Wife books in husband, that's a disaster. No point giving them any supplements. They won't take them. The person or somebody else books them in. That's not going to work. I had a daughter book in the mother, doesn't work. And then, of course, the daughter comes and the daughter's been doing all this Googling of everything. So really, you're just sitting there talking about the Googling of all of the symptoms and everything else. And the mother who's been booked in, who has to pay for it, the daughter doesn't pay for it, then doesn't really get what she needs from the appointment because we've got this presence of this person who's going, well, what about this? And what about this? And how about that? And the poor woman, you're trying to have a conversation with her. So things like that can't work. They can work. Sometimes you can make them work. That's outside of my rule book. Those are my 3 rules for the actual appointments, for keeping them to time and what I'm going to do to task within that time. And because I've given that client my full attention and I've spent my time during the appointment saying my lines, when I see you next and things like that, they're going to come back. So I think I'm going to talk more about this over the next couple of podcasts. I'm like, if they're short, so you can really think about your appointment and your appointment techniques. I'm going to give you some homework from today. And that is, at your next appointment, I want you to have a clock in front of you, a ticking clock with hands, so that you can measure the times and mark down. So a friend of mine, she would draw a circle on the piece of paper. She would divide it into quarters. And then as each quarter came up, she did this during class when we were in lectures. As the quarter went around, she would colour in the quarter. And so she would have that circle on her piece of paper in front of her at all times, colouring in the quarter so that she stayed on track with time. Now, I don't do that. I have a clock in front of me and I'm just watching the clock. Oh, 1 quarter's up, 2, it's 1:30, it's 1:45, got to wind it up. But that might be something that helps because we need to bring those appointments back in. People these days don't have time for long appointments, and they really haven't. Like, time is often wasted. If they actually sat down, how long do you spend on your phone playing games? How long? But there's all the driving, there's all the doing, there's all the stuff that goes into life these days, all the places you've got to go, the things you've got to do. You've got to keep up with the Joneses and all the rest of it. So there's all this stuff. So people don't have an hour and a half anymore. They used to. When I trained, they had an hour and a half. they were happy to come and sit with you for an hour and a half. But I noticed as people got sicker and as the years have gone on, people need shorter, more concise appointments. So that's what we need to be practicing. So that's your homework, to sit down, look at the times of what you're doing, how you're fitting everything in, and really work on the structure of what you're doing. And I'm going to talk again on this subject next week. So I hope you have a good one. And I look forward to hearing you or you hearing me on the next cast, me knowing that you're there listening on the next podcast. And the usual thing, if you enjoyed it, scroll down, give me 5 stars, don't give me less than 5, and say how much you love it, because I love to hear that sort of thing. And it's the only way to get up the ratings for all small businesses. We need support. Are you asking your clients for Google reviews? I hope you are. So I'll catch you next time. Have a good one. See ya. Thanks so much for joining me today. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast for the weekly episodes. If you'd like even more support and learning, then the Academy is for you. Here you'll find part 2 of the herbal discussions, more clinical learning, and case studies to support your clients in practice. Bye for now.